So later on, and I know we hadn't been on the ground yet, but later on, we'll be where the Confederates were. The Federals will be 60 yards away, and there'll be 17 attacks to that Carter Garden, back and forth. 2 square acre Carter Garden. Many consider it the bloodiest 2 acres of the whole war. I'm not saying that, but that's one of the bloodiest 2. That's a fact. Dave Hines, God rest his soul, a great historian from Rolla, Missouri, a great friend. Did tours with him 21 years. He passed on August 17th, 2010. He felt that the Carter Garden was the bloodiest 2 acres of the whole war. He was adamant about that. But we'll be there later. We're going to start at Winstead Hill. I think it was a great decision to see Fort Granger yesterday because of all the rain this morning. My creek was way up high this morning, by the way. Great historian. I learned a lot about what
That's
5,000. How many did Wilson have? Approximately 5,000. His horses were worn out from the campaign, Federal Cavalry, and General Jacob D. Cox wrote a great book on the Battle of Franklin, I don't know, 20 years after the war. It's more about the Federals because he had more info on the Federals, but he tried to be extremely fair to both sides. And don't let me forget what General Cox did for what was left of Claiborne's at Greensboro, North Carolina at the end of the war because of Coghlan. But 20 years later, he's noting that Forrest had 10,000 cavalry. Everyone always thought he had more than he had because he did twice what he should do, accomplished twice what he should do. But 20 years after the war, they thought he had 10,000 troopers. He had 5,000. Jackson's division, Ross's Texas Brigade, Armstrong's Mississippians, Buford's division with Tyree Bell. I'm gonna name a dog Tyree one day. I like that name, Tyree. I like that. I lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry. And Chalmers division, Biffle's brigade, Demi brigade. And I love General Buford, Abram Buford, the Kentuckian. I love him a great deal. Yes, he was cousin of John Buford at Gettysburg. Yes, he was.
I don't know where they come up with some of the things.
And for the folks of Indiana, he died in Indiana after the war. A horse farm is Cynthia? I can't remember the town. But his wife and daughter died suddenly, heartbroken, and he committed suicide. And the Confederate veterans, they did not note that he committed suicide. It's just that he died suddenly. They would not. Back then, they didn't note that very much. Didn't comment on it very much. What? Yes. Yes, that's correct. I forgot that. Ed Bars says that he'd rather come to Franklin to do a tour than Gettysburg, because of the emotions, the passion that we're getting ready to get into. We've done a lot of maneuvering and everything yesterday in some battle, but now this is down and dirty. Actually, it's the 9th level of hell multiplied by 10 times, and that's my own way of putting it. I do not give a mint julep, magnolia, and a moonbeam tour here, and I don't sugarcoat nothing. And I do quote officers, I quote a lot of soldiers on both sides, but officers, some of it's profane. It's not vulgar. It took me till my mid-30s to figure out the difference. But it is some profanity. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. I will warn you in advance if so you can turn your head or turn backwards or something. That I don't want to offend anyone, but it is what it is. I've used a little profanity yesterday, I'm ashamed to say, while I was on this tour. I get a little salty on these tours. I think I've been around Ed Mars too long. I love Mars, I just love him. I love him he's like a father figure to me.
He's got the sharpest mind of anybody I ever known. And by the way, one of his favorite sayings is, there is no if in history.
Dan Lady, my friend in Austin, Texas, they were going on a tour of the Kentucky stuff, and Texans and everybody on there, and they had this individual on the bus that wasn't really very sharp, that's being kind, but Ed wanted to know how to get Paducah. And this man started talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and after about 3 and a half left, take a left. After about 3 minutes, finally Ed hits the seat, and he says, I just want to know how to get a black Paducah. We all have funny stories on Ed. We do a 2-mile walk from Winstead Hill, which is to our left, to the Carter House every November 30th. Anybody can go that wants to go, and we have a police escort, and Ed led us one year. It's about, I don't know, maybe 2006 it was, but he led us. He took the lead, and we made this whole walk here. I'll never forget it.
His 50 yards is
Now we're going to go up to the base at the overlook of Winstead Hill. Obviously that rock is going to be a little slick. So just watch your step. Always watch your step everywhere we go. Please watch your step. Don't want you to twist an ankle or anything. But it might be a little slick. Not bad, but still, just be careful.
First time I talked to your wife, the first one coming up. It's good to have her so cold.
Tour. And it's a great honor to be with you today. I'll do my best to try to answer them. You've had some great questions yesterday and this morning. Some really good questions. Doug had a question about Beauregard. Why did he take over command? Well, Davis hated Beauregard more than he did Joe Johnson. And they hated each other. Beauregard called him that politician. And so he's theater commander with no power. And no way that Davis was going to let him take command. I like Beauregard. He's vain. Ain't no doubt about it. He's vain. But still, I like Beauregard. Ed Mars doesn't like him, but he said he did a great job at Virginia, Petersburg, and that Bermuda 100 and whatever stuff. Fabulous job there. I think we move on just a tad this way, and we can get them on up too.
Try and get in between the heads here.
But if you have original like Grant was with me, could Beauregard have possibly
Beauregard, I mean, Hooter's trying to get away from Beauregard. Beauregard's following him. And then then he moved on ahead, and finally he got exasperated, and just because Davis didn't give him any power to do anything. Suggestions. That's real weird. You're the boss, but you don't have any power to do anything. What did Thomas say when he was under Sherman? I'll be happy to serve under the stick, but don't let me be responsible for the stick, quote unquote. Yeah. Let's move on. We can get everyone in here and move on just a little bit. I know it's packed, but we're all friends now. Okay, folks. As you know, the Federal Vanguard arrives here in Franklin about 4 a.m. coming up over this Winstead Hill that's on your map, and Breezy Hill. Oh, there you go. And Breezy Hill, right over there. Breezy Hill, which is higher than Winstead Hill. They come up over this rise. It's 4 a.m. The Vanguard moved down into Franklin, and they knocked, as I said yesterday, I think I did, they knocked on the front door of the Lowe's house and said they're going to do a little yard work. And they're tearing down the wood shops and barns and taking the timbers and whatever for the trenches. Taking 8 plows from the Carter farm and placed them on the trenches. Cotton, tried to tear down the cotton gin. It was too well built, stripped as far as they could reach. By about 10 a.m., they're pretty comfortable. And the Federal General John McAllister Schofield, he sends 4 brigades out here on these two hills, not facing that way, but facing that way, south. The directions, by the way, south, north, east, and west. And on the other side of these two hills, it's Wagner's division that we talked about yesterday, but Luther Bradley, Colonel Bradley was wounded. So today it's Conrad Lane and Updike's brigade. Updike's the last to leave Spring Hill. And then Whitaker's brigade of Kimball's division. 2 sections of guns. That means 4 cannons, 2 sections of 2 guns each, in the middle of this road, facing south. Battery M4th U.S. Artillery and the 1st Ohio Battery G. Yeah. And who starts skirmishing with them? Forrest troopers. They had a battle line out there. Forrest men were dismounted. Forrest was with them dismounted. And they skirmish as Stewart's Corps is coming up. You remember those horrible jokes I made about Henpeck Lane that didn't go over too well, about half the bus, but whatever. Dying is easy, comedy's hard. And but Stewart's Corps moves down that Henpeck Lane, connects with that Lewisburg Pike we were on a lot yesterday, and wheels to your north and deploys the line of battle behind Carrington Mansion. We'll be over there later. Stewart's Corps, General A.P. Stewart at West Point, class of 42. Loring, W.W. Loring, old blizzards. And E.C. Wathall was a fine commander, doesn't get his due. And French's division, Samuel French, a West Pointer. And Cheatham's comes up. The Federals said they withdrew. Confederates said they drove them off the hills, a little bit of both, whatever. But they withdraw down the pike, and guess what? Wagner rides down here and orders Updike back on these 2 hills, or this hill. Updike's madder than hell because he's the last to leave Spring Hill, hadn't had a bite to eat. Now they're ordered back up. And this would tie into as they're moving down the pike, finally withdrawing from these 2 hills, Updike's mad. And there's going to be a lot of disobeying of orders going on, from the general to the colonels to the privates to everybody. Ain't nobody obeying anybody later on in this battle. So they move on down the pike. We'll touch on Wagner later. General Hood rides up over this slope. And of course the Confederates, Tennesseans especially, are cheering. Why? This is the bluegrass region, like Kentucky. They hadn't been home since June of '63, the Tullahoma campaign, Chattanooga, Atlanta, whatever. They're home. They're home. They start cheering. General Hood rides up here, dismounts by an old linden tree, pulls out his field glasses, views the enemy's positions, returns them to the case and said, "We will make the fight." He rides back to that Harrison House. Do you remember that? Yesterday we drove by, half a mile south of these hills, the Harrison House, over there on this side of the pike, a half a mile over there, behind the other side of the hill. And there he's going to hold his pre-battle conference. Pat Claiborne's noble, gallant division, as he called them, was in the process of deploying in line of battle about where those pine trees are, just about down there. Granbury's Texas Brigade to their right would be Govan's Arkansas Brigade. Behind or in reserve would be Lowry's Mississippians and Alabamians. Claiborne is at the base of Breezy Hill over there playing checkers in the dirt with different colored leaves with a staff officer. That's to break the tension, as they're deploying a line of battle. And he receives an order, request from Hood to attend this pre-battle conference meeting at the Harrison House. Who was there? Nathan Bedford Forrest, Frank Cheatham, the Corps commander, A.P. Stewart, the Corps commander, many division commanders like Wathall and Claiborne, and I believe Brown was there, and others. And there General Hood informs his commanders of his plans for a frontal assault. He asks for opinions. Frank Cheatham, Marks Frank Cheatham, he said, "I don't like the looks of this fight. The enemy's position and well fortified. Their trenches works go from river to river, same river, Harpeth River," as I told you yesterday. Pat Claiborne said it would be a useless loss of life. What would be accomplished? Attacking over almost 2 miles of open field against what appeared to be impregnable works. Nathan Bedford Forrest at the meeting. Remember, he was here April 10th, 63, June 4th, 63, whatever. And he said, "General Hood, with a strong division of infantry and my cavalry, I'll flank them out too.